we will start with important clauses attached to the policy. The first one, which is very confusing, many times I get questions on this agreed bank clause. कि सब कहाँ लगाना है, क्यों लगाना है, what are the implications, what are the complications in this. Uh, this clause is attached whenever there is a finance on insured property from a financial institution or bank. Now, what it says, the important condition of this clause is all monies in the situation of a claim shall be paid to bank. Bank has got the first right to receive the claim if it is financed or agreed bank clause is attached to the policy. And this is the prime condition. Banks, they insist on this insertion of agreed bank clause because they are sure, okay, in the event of a loss, their loan will be repaid first with the insurance money. Many times when banks they take the policy, of course they insist for this clause. Without that, and secondly they ask these policies to be issued in their name. Okay, that also they insist. You issue the policy in my name as making the insured as co-insured. That is also done. So either you attach agreed bank clause or you make a joint insurer. You can also do that. Okay, and joint insured. Now another thing is, now this is in favor of insurance company. What? Bank's receipt is complete discharge of company's liability. Now insurance company need not run behind client to get the discharge voucher signed. Claims are settled with the banks, and if bank has signed the receipt, many times dispute arise on this. Insured says, my dear sir, this assessment is not acceptable to me, but bank has accepted and they have signed the discharge receipt. In that case, company will say, sorry, I am not supposed to talk to you. In terms of this agreed bank clause, I have already got the receipt, bank's receipt, and I have settled the claim. Now, under what circumstances this situation will arise? When there is a partial loan. Say, for example, the stocks are to the extent of 40 lakhs and client has availed a loan of 10 lakhs. So bank is happy. Even if the insurance company finalizes a claim for a sum of rupees 15 lakhs, they will not dispute. What they are concerned, my loan is protected. So outstanding should be, your settlement amount should be more than the bank's loan amount. So this, I told you, this comes in favor of the insurance company. Insurance company need not bother much, but that is not technically correct. Ethically, it is not correct. I don't support this. Okay. Many times client is raising their objection and we are not listening. That is not correct. But this provision is there. Now, all notices served or communication made to the bank shall be deemed as if sufficiently served to the interested party. Now, this is again against the insured. Why? Anything, a communication is made to the bank, it will be assumed as if you have been informed. So, basically there is a short circuit between the bank and the insurance company, which many times it goes against the interest of insured. Okay. In case of any dispute between insured, insurer, any settlement agreed by the bank shall be valid and binding on all insured parties. Again, in favor of insurance company. So, say for example, there's a dispute, client has raised objection and has written to the bank, my dear sir, this 20 lakh settlement is not acceptable to me. It should be minimum 25. But by any chance, if the bank agrees for a particular agreed amount, say for example, insurance company agrees to pay 21 lakhs, insured is demanding 20, original assessment is 20, insured is demanding 25, and finally a mutually agreed amount is 21 and bank has agreed, it will be considered as valid and bank has discharged the voucher as full and final settlement. In that case, insured will lose all his rights to recover any balance payment. Then this is important. What it says, this clause can be removed on renewal only after getting NOC from the bank. Many times, initially clients have taken the loan. So bank has called for this add-on cover Without this, they will not release the loan amount. So they are bound to accept it. But at the time of renewal of the policy, they come directly to the client and say, sir, remove this clause. Okay. And sometimes they put a condition. Unless you remove this clause, I'll not renew this policy with you. Many times it happens. Banks interest is removed. And that time, banks, there is objection. How did you remove my interest? My loan is still continuing. So ideally, this clause should not be renewed without getting the NOC. If the bank agrees, okay, we don't require your loan is 100%, our loan is repaid, you can remove this clause, then it's okay. Otherwise, it should not. Okay. Another thing, very important clause, contract price insurance clause. Now, surprisingly, I have found this rider that this clause is applicable only to imported goods, not for goods which are locally manufactured. Now, if you ask me the reason, I have no explanation, because I also tried my best to find out any logic, but I did not find. So only this is to protect imported goods. This clause is very much there, and no company has filed the changed wordings so far. So everybody is following this particular tariff wording, not for goods locally manufactured. So which type of goods? Imported, and which are sold under a contract. Now you are importing some, for example, raw material, imported raw material, you are processing, making it a final product, and you are either exporting or you are selling locally. In both situations, because this thing is not defined again in this particular wording, whether it has to be sold back to the origin country, exported, or it can be sold locally. That position is not clear. So I am taking advantage in my favor. I say whether it goes back for exports or it is sold locally. In both situations, I will apply this contract price insurance clause. Now, what it says, if the goods are sold under a contract, but before the supply, they are damaged wholly or partly before delivery due to an operation of insured peril resulting in cancellation of contract. Now contract is cancelled, whether it was a local contract or it was an export contract. In that case, such loss shall be paid based on contract selling price, irrespective of market value, subject to maximum sum insured taken under the policy. Of course, we cannot pay more than the sum insured, but we will normally, settlement of stock is done on market value. It is not a agreed value sort of thing. But under this contract price insurance clause, it becomes a agreed value. Whatever is the contractual agreement, company will pay irrespective of market value. So that means sometimes it is also known as breach of principle of indemnity. And it is true. Under this clause, we agree. The principle of it is a breach of indemnity because profit component, this contract price will also include the profit component, which is otherwise not payable under a fire policy. Here it can be paid. It is paid because what we say, instead of market value, we will pay the contracted price, selling price, which has been agreed upon. So the client will not lose if he has taken contract price insurance clause. So it is very important for insurance companies to understand this, and especially to brokers. Brokers are also should understand, and they should offer this contract price insurance clause wherever it is needed. Okay. Otherwise, they would be blamed. In such a situation, their clients, they are going to blame the brokers, especially. Another is RIV value clause, reinstatement value clause. This is well explained, but still, for the sake of simplicity, I am explaining once again. This is given to policies covering building machinery, fixtures, furnitures, and fittings only, not on stocks. There is no RIV on stocks. The very first mistake people do it, they insure stock also on RIV. Sorry, fixed assets alone can be insured. Stocks will always be insured on market value basis, except where the contract price insurance clause is attached. Understood? Claims are paid on the basis of reconstruction cost, replacement of reconstruction, In case of building, it is reconstruction. In case of machinery, it is replacement. Furniture, fixtures, it is replacement. And the value is taken on the date of replacement, reconstruction, instead of date of loss. This is very, very important. Normally, we take date of loss as the parameter, but here under RIV clause, we see the actual replacement. Cost, it may increase. Say, for example, replacement is taking place after 11 months. During this 11 months, cost may go up. At the time of accident, it was 10 lakhs. But at the time of replacement, after 11 months, the cost may go up to 11 lakhs. The company, instead of 10, they will agree to pay. They are bound to pay 11, provided the sum insured is adequate. That is important. If the sum insured itself is 10, company will not pay more than 10. Okay. And rather, they will apply under insurance in that case. Because sum insured has to be declared adequately. Now, reinstatement has to be carried out within 12 months. Why this condition? Because we are agreeing the cost on the date of replacement. If we are saying we will give you the cost as on date of replacement, we cannot wait indefinitely. Then this replacement has to be carried out within 12 months from the date of loss, unless it is agreed in writing by the insurance company. Okay. So, in case it is delayed, unless it is agreed, sometimes insurance companies, because of genuine delay in reinstatement of property, if the insured approaches the insurance companies, kindly extend this period. I am unable, I am trying my best, but unable to reinstate my property within 12 months. Sometimes insurance companies may agree. If it is agreed, fine. Otherwise, insured would lose all their benefits under RIV clause. What are the benefits? They will not get reinstatement value. They will get normal indemnity basis, that is market value settlement. Okay. Now another clause is, a condition is reconstruction can be done at the same site or at any other site. There is no objection from the side of insurance company. Okay. So long as your reconstructed property falls within the ambit of your sum insured taken. Okay. No issues. You can go to any other different site also, reconstruction site. Then this clause continues. Damaged property can be replaced with property of same kind or type. Okay. But this word is but. And nahi hai, ye but hai. But not superior or more extensive than the insured property as on date of loss. Okay. Otherwise, cost of betterment is going to be reduced. Applying the principle of indemnity. Okay. So the replacement has to be done with same kind or type. Place can be altered, but not the machinery features. Your technical parameters should be the same. Okay. Now you say, suppose that machinery is not available. All these things, forget about that. That is obsolete part, and all that clause we will cover separately. In case the machinery has become obsolete, in that case, of course, you can go for nearby replacement of machinery. Okay. Otherwise, no. Now, under insurance, this is very, very important. Under insurance clause is very much applicable. If the policy sum insured is less than the cost which would have been incurred to reinstate or replace the property, had there been a total loss, total destruction of property, all losses shall be reduced proportionately. Now, after 11 months, in an example, he is replacing the property. And as I told you, the cost is escalated to 11 lakhs. Now, if the sum insured is not 11, understand, then it will attract under insurance. So, sum insured must represent the cost of reinstatement of property, not as on date of loss, as on date of actual reinstatement of property. Now, another thing, insured will lose all his benefit if, what is this if? If he fails to intimate the company about his intentions to reinstate or replace the property within 6 months. Within 6 months, he has to decide whether he is going to reinstate the property or repair the property. Okay, many times he does not. He decides, okay, I'll not go for replacement. I'll uh, I'll just leave it. I am not going to pursue my project anymore after this total loss. And in that case, he will get indemnity based settlement after applying depreciation and salvage, okay, from the current replacement cost of the property. But if he needs to, if he has the intention to reinstate the property, then these intentions should be disclosed to the insurance company within a period of 6 months from date of loss, or any further time allowed by the company in writing. This in writing is very important. Oral commitment does not work. In case reinstatement is delayed, it has to come from the insurance company in writing. Second is, he will lose all benefit if insured is unable or unwilling to replace or reinstate the damaged property. Either he is unwilling, I told you, na. Sometimes insured decides, okay, enough is enough. I don't want to install this property anymore. In that case, he is not interested. He will tell the insurance company, sorry, sir, my loss has taken place. I am not interested in replacing the property, reinstating the property. Fine. The claim will be settled on indemnity basis. Okay. Either he is unable or he is unwilling. The unwilling. In both situations, claim will be settled on indemnity basis. Then next is very important clause, designation of property clause. What it says, for the for all purpose of determining where necessary is important, wherever it is necessary, then the item under which any property is insured, insurers agree to accept the designation under which the property has been entered in insured books of accounts. This you might have read 100 times. But what exactly does it mean? That you will understand. Whatever is said, it is written. You might have seen these 3 lines 100 times. But how to interpret these lines? So if you see this example, if electrical wirings and fittings have been entered or categorized as building in insured books of accounts, then loss, if any, shall be admissible under the head building, even if this is not separately insured. Furniture, fixture, fitting is not separately insured under the policy, claim cannot be denied, because in books of accounts he has declared this as a part of building. So in this situation, in absence of designation of property clause, such claims shall be straightway rejected by the surveyors. They will say, my dear sir, you have not covered electrical fittings and furniture's fittings and all that. You have covered only building. So I will not consider this loss. It is not insured. This property is not insured. In that case, by virtue of this designation of property clause, client may say, okay, sir, client may say that, sir, look at my books of account and बंद कर दो this books of accounts and see this my furniture fixture is added to my building sum insured building, it is taken as a part of building, so such claims will be admissible. Understand? At the same time, condition of average shall be applied. This is a negative thing which is important. We will definitely pay electrical wirings and fittings as a part of building, but at the time of checking the adequacy of sum insured, now building sum insured is only 10 lakhs. So if you add wiring, etc., it should be 12. He has declared only 10. Designation of property clause is already attached. We will pay the claim of furniture fixtures, your electrical wiring and fittings, your switchboards and all that. But we will apply under insurance because your building is separately valued. It is coming to 9 lakhs. 3 lakhs is the cost of fittings. It should be 12. And your sum insured, total sum insured declared is 10. So 10 by 12 will be the under insurance. Understood? This is very important to understand. Now, another example, in case air conditioners are entered as machinery in books of accounts, instead of electrical installations, Now surveyor will look for electrical installation sum insured, but he will not find. There is no coverage for electrical installations. He will deny. He may deny, saying this: your air conditioner is not covered. It's an electrical item. Electrical motors are very much there as electrical items, but he will not find any breakup in sum insured as electrical installation. In that case, if designation of property clause is attached, company will treat it at par with machinery, because these air conditioners, they are categorized as, capitalized as machinery in books of accounts. So it will be taken as machinery while assessing the loss. But again, while checking the underinsurance factor like this, he will take all these air conditioners, he will add the value of air conditioners to the cost of machinery, and then he will compare the underinsurance at the time of loss. Okay. Now, next is your local authority clause. This clause can be given only to policies which are issued on RIV basis. This condition is very important. Local authority clause should not be given to policies which are issued on market value basis. Now, this covers additional cost. What it pays? It pays for additional cost which is incurred by insured solely by reason of necessity to comply with building regulations under the act or bylaws by municipal or local authorities. Now I'll give you one example. Now, at the time of reconstruction of the property, if local bylaws, your municipal corporation people, they come and they say, no sir, you have to make these alterations as per local, as per the current rules, then this additional expenses which were not there in original building, because that time the norms were different, so it was given a clean sheet. But after 5 years, if the property is reconstructed following an accident, following a loss under the policy, then since the bylaws are changed or act is revised, so local authority may impose, my dear sir, these modifications you will have to do, any modification. So this additional cost will be paid under local authority clause. Otherwise, such cost is not payable. Unless this local authority clause is attached to the policy, these additional expenses will not be paid. Insurance company will deny, my dear sir, I am supposed to indemnify you. What is my liability? Is to put you in the same place where you were prior to the loss. So your building was of this type, I will consider reconstruction of same type of building. But if you have taken local authority clause, you may demand improvement cost also, which are complying with as per the bylaws. Understood? Again, this payment is subject to condition that reinstatement has to be carried out within 12 months. Okay, or otherwise agreed in writing by the insurance company. Okay. Now again, this rider, no payment is made if there are again three things are there. No payment under this local authority clause shall be made if destruction or damage has occurred prior to granting to this extension. Damage has already taken place and later on he is coming forward to take this local authority clause. So if the local authority clause is endorsed in the policy after the loss, no benefit can be given. This is a common sense. Okay. Another thing, damage has occurred to the property which is not insured under the policy. Just a fundamental thing. If the property is not insured under any policy, where is the question of payment of additional payment under local authority clause? Only modification expenses alone cannot be paid. Okay. Third is, notice is served upon the insured prior to happening or destruction of damage, means prior to date of loss. If the client has already received a notice from municipal authorities prior to date of loss, in that case, any modification cost will not be payable under local authority clause. So three things. I hope it is clear, all three conditions. Then 72 hours clause. This is very, 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 very important. I think this is the last clause I have selected. At the 11th hour, I have included because a lot of confusion is there. 72 hours clause. People are confused. Please listen very carefully. First of all, this clause is applicable in case of act of God losses, AOG perils. So first situation, let us talk of floods. There are three things: floods, storms, windstorms, and your earthquake. Three. So let us talk of flood. Now, what it says, each and every loss from this peril, not each and every should not be there, all losses, each and every loss, it should be worded like this: each and every loss from this peril within occurring within the 72 hours period shall be deemed to be so far as total sum insured and deductible provisions are concerned. Now let us understand what it says. Now flooding, multiple incidents at a different time has taken place. So continuously incidents are taking place. One flooding is there, okay, which has affected, say for example, 2 blocks of the factory. Then by evening another flow of flood comes that has affected another 4. So similarly, now what is to be considered under this 72 hours clause? All incidents which are taking place, all losses which are taking place within the period of 72 hours shall be taken considered as one clause for the purpose of application of policy access. Whether within 72 hours five different losses have taken place, okay, or at different places the insured has suffered 5 different losses, so all put together will be clubbed for the purpose of application of single one deductible. Instead of applying different deductibles, only one deductible shall be applied. Another thing, company shall not be liable for any loss caused by any flooding occurring before the effective date and time of this policy. This is also important. Please understand, if the policy commences today and yesterday a flood incident has taken place, now you cannot apply 72 hours clause. Saying this, my dear sir, my policy commencing today and this incident, first incident has taken place within 72 hours prior to commencement of this policy, kindly pay. Sorry, that is not permissible. But on the contrary, if the policy is expiring here and the first incident of flood or cyclone or earthquake has taken place before the expiry of policy, then further, even if the policy is expired after 1 hour of incident, say for example 12 midnight the policy is expiring, and your first flood incident takes place at 11 p.m. in the night, it means the first incident has taken place within the policy period and policy has expired after 1 hour. But now all incidents which are occurring in 72 hours from 11 p.m. today will all be taken into consideration for the purpose of payment and with application of one access. This many people do not know the implication of this 72 hours clause. This is very important, and many times it has been seen that clients have been benefited. So prior to commencement of policy, no benefit can be extended, but at the end, what it says, now if you read, insurer will be liable for any loss occurring for a period up to 72 hours after the expiration of this policy, provided the first flood damage occurs prior to the date and time of expiration of this policy. As I gave you the example, if the loss has taken place at 11 p.m., policy is expiring at 12 p.m., 12 midnight, then all 72 hours losses occurring subsequent to the expiry of the policy, even if the policy is not renewed, that shall be paid under this policy. This may look funny, but this clause says like this. Now for the purpose of wind and rainstorm, the same thing. This all losses, each loss of windstorm or rainstorm shall constitute a single claim, provided more than one storm caused by the same atmospheric disturbance shall occur within the period of 72 hours during the terms of this policy. Such windstorm or year shall be deemed to be a single windstorm within the meaning thereof. It will be taken as single incident for the purpose of application of deductible. Now, which 72 hours? Say, for example, this windstorm or rainstorm, it continues for 6 days. It is more than 72 hours. 72 hours means 3 days. When now it will be a question, which 72 hours? First three, last three, or middle three? Which 3 days? 72 hours. It is up to the insured. Now discretion is given to the insured. You choose this period, whether you want middle 72, last 72, or initial 72. Wherever you find beneficial to you, you choose that period and company is bound to accept. Then third is earthquake. Earthquake is also same thing. Within it, it will be considered as a single claim within the 72 hours. During the terms of this policy, it will be deemed as single earthquake within the meaning thereof. So, for the purpose of sum insured as well as deductible, it will be considered as one incident. Okay, not only access. So one way it is beneficial to the client because application of access instead of 5 incidents, company says I will consider only one loss. Okay, so application of deductible, not 5 deductibles, only one access. But on the other hand, consider public. The company says for I will consider sum insured for all these 5 incidents put together. So I will restrict my loss to maximum of your sum insured for all such incidents which are taking place within this 72 hours. So one way it is beneficial to the client, another way he may be a loser. In 5 incidents, he might lose 600 crores. But if the sum insured is 500 crores, company will not pay more than 500 crores for all losses put together. Okay.